Hi, this is Tisch Aitken, and it is Saturday, August 6th, 2022. If you could please subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. So the moon is now in the mutable fire sign of Sagittarius, a lot more exuberant and optimistic and fun. It does square Mercury later today, but that could bring a lot of communication. And Mercury is currently in Virgo, which is very analytical and really excellent for all forms of business and communication. And tomorrow we have that beautiful aspect with Venus and Neptune, very magical and romantic and creative, and they're forming a very harmonious aspect at 12:43 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Mars squares Saturn, which can be a bummer and can feel like an obstacle or a challenge, but it's good for doing hard work. Tap into the magic and the creativity of Venus and Neptune in harmony. Next week is a big week. We've got the full moon coming up in Aquarius, which really underscores the ending. We're getting to the tail end of the new age of Aquarius. So on August 8th, the sun in Leo forms a beautiful aspect to Chiron, the wounded healer. And that's good for healing energy and bringing light to painful matters. However, Venus, the planet of love, money, beauty, and what you value, opposes Pluto, the planet of death and regeneration. And that becomes exact late on the 8th of August Pacific Daylight Time and early on August 9th Eastern Daylight Time. That can bring breakups and power struggles and challenges with finances. It's very emotionally intense. So Sun Chiron in harmony, that's great, but intensity of emotions. Then on August 11th, there is a full moon that date at 19 degrees and 21 minutes of the fixed air sign of Aquarius. And Saturn has been transiting in Aquarius on and off since March of 2020, at the beginning height of the pandemic, as we really started to understand it. It initially entered Aquarius on March 23rd and got as far as 2 degrees of Aquarius. It re-entered the cardinal Earth sign of Capricorn on July 1st of 2020, and we were in the epoch of Capricorn at that time. Saturn rules both signs, but most equate Saturn with the restrictions and the karma and challenges of Capricorn, building structures within limitations and building to mature and build something constructive and heed the lessons. And in Aquarius, Saturn does rule Aquarius in ancient astrology. I think of it more as a Uranian sign. There are some Aquarians I think of as very Saturnian, but usually they're pretty quirky in different ways and unusual and brilliant and what have you. But Saturn re-entered Aquarius on December 17th of 2020. Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion and vision, entered the fixed air sign of Aquarius on December 20th of 2020 and ushered in the new age of Aquarius, meeting up at the very first degree of Aquarius in an air sign. Every 20 years, they meet up in a particular element. And in this case, they met in the very first degree of an air sign of Aquarius, and structuring a new vision for all, centered on the future, community, mayhem, and chaos, obviously, because we've been experiencing all of that, and the closest they had been for over 800 years. And now this full moon is setting off where Saturn has been since the beginning of March of this year. It got as far as 19 degrees of Aquarius. It retrograded in the beginning of June at 25 degrees of the fixed air sign of Aquarius. And it will, exceed this degree, 19 degrees of Aquarius, in early December. So what that means is this full moon is releasing obstacles of what you have been working on the last few years in this new age of Aquarius. It's been very, very challenging. It's a sign of embracing change and the future and ingenuity, but it has been very, very hard to bridge, very chaotic. And in this case, both of the rulers, the ancient ruler being Saturn, the modern ruler being Uranus, they made 3 challenging squares in 2021, making it even more difficult to harness the ingenuity and the freedom and the new beginnings. It's been very, very difficult. And so releasing those obstacles, on the day of the full moon, let's see what happens on that date. I know that Venus enters Leo at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and it will remain in Leo through September 5th. So that's a very fun placement of Venus, the planet of love and joy and happiness. Earlier that date, the Sun squares Uranus at 7:53 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, underscoring the frenetic, chaotic elements of Aquarius, because Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. And we've been having very Uranian energy for a while because the nodes of fate have been traveling with Uranus. The north node of karma met up with Uranus and Mars on July 31st and August 1st when it perfected at 18 degrees of Aquarius. And they're still dancing together, bringing creativity and magic and madness and instability and I think working with the creative and unpredictable element, which is uncomfortable. While in Taurus, Uranus is in a sign that likes stability, and good luck with that, especially when, Saturn squaring Uranus. They will get close again in the fall, but it's a time where we have to work in this kind of energy and embrace what's ahead of us and form community as we can. Find good friends or online groups that support you, or locally is excellent, obviously. Getting involved with people that match your vibration. And this full moon, I cast the chart. It occurs at 6:36 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and I cast it for Washington, D.C. Somebody asked why, and the reason is it is the capital of the United States where I live. And so you cast it for the capital of the nation. And the ascendant is 25 degrees of the mutable water sign of Pisces. Neptune, which is transiting in its rulership in Pisces, is just within a degree of the ascendant in the 12th house of hidden matters and imagination and dreams. The full moon itself is conjunct Saturn within a few degrees, underscoring the challenges of innovating a new future in chaos, underscoring that this has not been easy. In the 12th house, that's there as well, releasing that as much as one is able to innovate something really exciting, and it is very possible. And this energy of Uranus and the North Node is also emphasizing that solar eclipse that occurred on August 30th. It was a partial solar eclipse at 10 degrees and 22 minutes of the fixed earth sign of Taurus. Uranus, which is the modern ruler of Aquarius, the planet of surprise and the unexpected, was conjunct that new moon eclipse. For some, it brought out of the blue magic. Unfortunately, there was unexpected loss and twists and turns. Very, very heavy time since those eclipses. And in the case of this full moon, there is a grand cross that occurs, and that means when 4 points form a square to one another, each point is 90 degrees from the other planet or point. So in this case, the moon and Saturn are in Aquarius in the 12th house of endings. They are squaring the pile up of the north node of karma at 17 degrees of the fixed sign of Taurus. That's in the house of money, income, and what you value, and resources. and along with Uranus and Mars, the planet of Uranus, the planet of surprise and chaos and the ruler of the full moon in Aquarius, and Mars, the planet of drive and passion and rage. And then they're squaring the sun in Leo, which is in the 6th house of work, health, and daily habits. And they're squaring the south node of karma, which is in Scorpio, in the 8th house of joint resources and endings and death and regeneration. So there's a very financially centered energy on this full moon in where it stands, and the fact that, you know, the nodes of fate are in Taurus and Scorpio, which are both signs associated with money. Taurus is how you earn money and developing resources and creativity to do so. Scorpio is more about joint resources and financial partnerships, investments and taxes and debt. So for many, this could be a reality check. And keep in mind that Mars will enter Gemini on August 20th, and it will remain in Gemini through March 26th of next year. And it's going to retrograde on October 30th through January 12th. If there's something new you want to launch in your business, use this full moon to release the blocks, because Mars will enter its shadow on September 3rd, meaning that it gets at the degree at which it stations direct on January 12th, which is 8 degrees of Gemini. And, you know, it's okay when it's in shadow. It'd be better if it's not, but we have to work within what we can work in, you know. But at the end of October, I would not recommend, and certainly when Mars is retrograde, if you can avoid it, do not launch something new. If you're returning to something you've started or going back to the place you promote or whatever, that's one thing. But if it's a campaign of something you've never done, a whole new business project, a new job, not an ideal time when Mars is retrograde. So a lot to process, and Mars will also be out of bounds from October 22nd through May 4th, which is going to emphasize the Mars-like energy, which will be very interesting in Gemini because it's hard to make decisions. There are a lot of options, but a lot of communication certainly too. So I wish you all a lot of luck. The moon in Sag, optimistic energy. Next week, the full moon releasing the Saturnian blocks to tap into your own ingenuity and inner magic. And it's not easy, but you can do it. And so I wish you a lot of luck. And also in that chart, you know, Venus being in Leo in the house of love and creativity, you know, go for what makes you happy. And Mars does form a helpful aspect to Neptune, coming up with creative solutions and letting go of those obstacles. And we'll try. Take care.